Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today it's time we had a look at Blissey EX, and basically accepted the fact that Blissey is legit. Now, this is not another Dragapult situation. I told you, like, the second we saw Blissey, that I thought Blissey was ridiculous, and Blissey was going to end up being a great card. And the wonderful news is, we now have Blissey. It's legal over in Japan. It's seeing a bunch of play. And it's not quite up there as the best deck in the format yet. It's finding its feet, so to speak. But it is winning some city leagues over in Japan. And it is proving to be an absolutely legit card. It's coming out in Twilight Masquerade. We actually have an English look at Blissey, which is lovely. It's going to be legal for NAIC and therefore, of course, Worlds. And this is a deck to look out for when we get to NAIC and later Worlds. So yay! Again, there's a few different ways to play the deck like there are for a lot of newer decks. Let me try and explain them. So we've got Blissey here, okay? And Blissey is absolutely legit. The ability says once during your turn you can move a basic energy from one of your Pokemon to another, and then free colorless energy, 180, draw until you got 6 cards in your hand. Plus you got 300 HP on a stage 1 Pokemon. So the plan here very simply is and just be clear, this is an attacking with Blissey deck. Go and look at the deck list we find, it is a Blissey deck most of the time. The question becomes, what is a support? How do you get the energy on? What other tricks do you want to play? Because generally speaking, if you're hitting for 180 a turn, you've got a ridiculous draw engine and you've got huge HP, this is going to be very, very good very quickly. As a quick note before we get going, there is a clear answer in terms of Chansey. It's a Chansey from Pokemon Go. It's got 130 HP as your basic Pokemon, which is frankly ridiculous. It's got the highest HP of all of them. That is the one everyone is choosing. It seems to be a landslide for that Chansey. I really like the one from 151, because if you take it as a face-down prize card and you've got a bench space, you can flip a coin to take an extra prize, which I think is genuinely, legitimately awesome. And if I'm playing this deck, I'm probably going for that one, because the chance of cheating an extra prize cheekily during the game is just too delicious. But if you look at lists coming out of Japan, it is very, very clear. The one from Pokemon Go's got 130 HP. That's the one that everybody's choosing. And I can't really blame them, honestly. So one easy and obvious way to play this is with Arceus. And we are seeing lists with Arceus doing very, very well over in Japan. Obviously, you've got your list of Arceus V-Star, and you've got Arceus V, which will search your deck for free basic energy and attach them, and can be used for a double turbo, which means turn 1 going second, let's roll. And then you've got Arceus V-Star, does 200 while attaching free basic energy, and has Starbirth that can search for any 2 cards, although one of them will often be a double turbo, so you can use Arceus V-Star ability. But the point is, this will help you get the energy onto your Blissey, while also giving you a decent attacker, while also giving you an ability here, your V-Star Power, which will allow you to search for a couple of cards. Obviously, huge consistency here. This works very, very nicely. Now, another way that we've seen to play the deck, and this did actually win a City League over in Fukuoka, for instance, is with Palkia. Palkia is another way we can play this, and again, this makes perfect sense. It's a decent attacker, which is nice, and it's got the ability Star Portal, a different V-Star power, lets you search for free water energy in your discard pile, and attach them to your water Pokemon in any way you like. No, this will not accelerate energy to Blissey, but what it will do is get energy on the board, and then Blissey's ability will move the energy over to Blissey. And if you move 1 energy over from a Palkia, and then attach a double turbo, then that will actually get free energy on, which will allow you to attack with Blissey. So it's a bit round the houses, but it does work. It will get extra energy out. Blissey's ability will get it onto Blissey, and we know by now that Palkia is a good attacker. It is a decent attacker in its own right, so you know what? This kind of makes perfect sense. Now, one of the reasons I don't love the Palkia form so much is because one of the things we see played a lot here with this is Monkey Dory. Monkey Dory is absolutely legit. And I'm sure there's a few around that maybe aren't playing it, but seriously, I'm looking all over here. I'm just seeing Monkey Dory in like every list. Monkey Dory just seems to be a staple here. The difference is it is harder to play in Palkia lists. Obviously, Arceus can play whatever energy you want. You'll play Darkness. You do see it played in Palkia, don't get me wrong, but it's more awkward in Palkia. Now, what Monkey Dory does, basically, if you've got a Darkness energy attached to this Pokemon, then once during your turn, you can move 3 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to one of your opponents. And this does several great things. Firstly, it helps to heal Blissey a bit. You got 300 HP, that's a good one. Secondly, you're not doing quite as much damage as you like with Blissey. Monkey Dory gets more down on the field, gets some onto your opponent's side, which is good. And also, I mean, the attack's terrible. Don't worry about the attack. 60 plus confusion, it's terrible. Don't worry about it. Although we do see sometimes they play Psychic Energy so you can attack with it. I've seen City winning league decks that do, but yeah, generally don't, all right? Just, I wouldn't worry about it. But what's really, really good here is just the fact that you're healing yourself, getting damage down on your opponent's side of the board, and in theory, Blissey will survive for a turn or two. So you've got time to get the energy onto Monkey Dory, because you've got to have the energy on to use the ability, but if you need the energy back, you can take it back. Or you can move it between 2 Monkey Dory. Because essentially, if you've got 1 Darkness Energy and 2 Monkey Dory on the field, you attach to 1 Monkey Dory, use the ability, use Blissey's ability to move the energy to the other one, and then use that ability. And then next turn, use the second ability, move it, use the first ability. If I've got 1 Darkness Energy on either Monkey Dory and 2 on the field, I can use both those abilities in 1 turn. It's why the ability is specifically suited so beautifully to working in Blissey decks, because you need to have the energy on Monkey Dory to use the ability, because you can move it once with Blissey, you can use 1 energy to use 2 of the ability, move 6 damage counter off of Blissey every turn, while getting 6 damage onto your opponent's side of the board. Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. Now, in terms of other Pokemon we might see in the deck, Mew EX is a pretty good one. It's not necessarily specific to this deck. Mew EX is just generally awesome, but it's got free retreat, lets you draw until you've got 3 cards in your hand, and copies one of your opponent's attacks. And again, the beautiful thing here is, with genome hacking, you can drop this as a surprise. Drop Mew, attach Double Turbo, which you're going to be playing for Blissey, use Blissey's ability to move an energy over, and when I've got Mew sitting on the bench, my opponent knows it might be coming, they can plan for it. But if I just go Mew, Double Turbo, move the energy attack, my opponent cannot plan for that. And that means I'm going to be able to drop Mew as a surprise and actually get it rolling in a way that other decks just generally aren't able to do so. And that's kind of awesome. If you're playing Darkness Energy, Hooper EX actually becomes like a legit option, because 2 energy, 50 damage for each energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. But again, I can attach 1 energy and move an energy over with Blissey, and then all of a sudden I can drop this as a legitimate surprise. It's another Pokemon your opponent can prepare for, but dropping it as a surprise is great. Can do really good damage if you've got lots of energy on the field, gives you an option as a fighting type attacker as well. And do remember, if you've got 2 Blissey out, you can use 2 of the ability and attach for turn and use Bandit's Fist as well, if you like. And of course, Blood Moon Ursaluna, very, very good option as it is in a lot of decks. Blood Moon Ursaluna is just generally kind of amazing. That's the one whereby it reduces the attack cost by 1 for each prize card your opponent's taken, and it does 240 for 5 energy, but the more prizes they take, the cheaper it gets. It's a very, very, very good card. So yeah, that's going to see a bunch of play. But we see some lists of Blissey that don't actually play Arceus or Palkia. They play Frostlass. Now, I'm having to use a slightly slanted version of the artwork rare because that's the only English scan we've got of it right now. But during Pokemon Checkup, you put 1 damage counter on each Pokemon that has an ability. And here's the thing. Initially, you look at this and you're like, oh, don't like the fact that I'm dropping damage on Pokemon with abilities, because that will include Blissey and it will include Monkey Dory, and that's not ideal. But remember Monkey Dory's ability that moves damage from your Pokemon to your opponents? Yeah, this actually combos kind of beautifully with Monkey Dory, because damage builds up on your side. No, your opponent's probably not going after your Monkey Dory, so wait till there's 3 damage counters on Monkey Dory and then move them to your opponent. Yeah, that seems like fun, I think, doesn't it? I really like this. It's a fun little way to play it. The list without either Arceus or Palkia makes me a little bit nervous, because it means you've not got that way to get the energy on. I mean, it's still double turbo dance. It's 2 attachments. Still makes me a little bit nervous. Although those decks do tend to play Turbo Energize. Turbo Energize is an awkward technical machine. It's a single energy attack, which is great, and it can be put onto any Pokemon, which is great. But you got to actually draw into it, and then it's your attack for the turn, and I'm not loving using Turbo Energize, but I do need to let you know, yes, it is just a 2 attachment attack for Blissey, but the decks that aren't playing stuff like Arceus or Palkia, they do generally tend to play Turbo Energize, because it's better than nothing, right? Now, in terms of Radiant Pokemon, a lot of these lists just aren't playing Radiant Pokemon at all. Now, obviously, if you're playing the Palkia list, you're going to be playing Greninja, because you're playing Water Energy anyway, and that's got a phenomenal attack, and you've always got the ability to draw cards and all as well. So yeah, if you're playing Palkia, you're playing Radiant Greninja. That is an absolute given. If you're playing a different build of it, however, I'm not entirely sure. A lot of the lists that I am seeing here are just going, nah, man, I'm cool. Don't need a Radiant Pokemon. Nice offer. Appreciate the offer. But you know what, man? I just don't need a Radiant Pokemon here. And it tends to be a pretty streamlined deck. You've got Blissey, you've got Monkey Dory, and then you've either got Palkia or Arceus or Frostlass. And then maybe a tech or 2. You don't necessarily need a Radiant Pokemon in this list. Not to say that playing one is wrong or bad or anything along those lines. Just saying you don't need to play one. And in terms of a spec here, it's another deck that just cannot make up its mind. Hero's Cape is obviously a really good option here, because it gives you an extra 100 HP, which, you know, you're a 300 HP stage 1 Pokemon, going up to 400 HP, bearing in mind you got some healing, etc. Clearly a really good option. But I'm seeing a lot of lists that just don't bother playing this at all, because you've got options like Hyper Aroma. That's the one that lets you search for 3 stage 1s and put them into your hand. Obviously, if you're playing the Frostlass build, well, you've got both Frostlass and you've got Blissey here. So this seems like a way better option in that build of the deck, because you want to be searching out all of your stage 1s. So maybe that's, you know, in that build of the deck, essential. Otherwise, you can go Hero's Cape. And for what it's worth, Hero's Cape is the one that I've seen the most. That is the most popular one I've seen here. And it clearly does make the most sense, because, you know, you got a high HP anyway. Why not really take advantage of it? But just as a side note here, remember there are other options, and Hyper Aroma definitely seems to work. In terms of other cards you can be playing here, Cheren's Care is obviously a great option. Lets you put one of your colourless Pokemon with any damage counters on and all attached cards into your hand. It means that you can heal up your Blissey. I keep telling you how Blissey's got huge HP. This is a great way to take advantage of it. And yes, if you're playing Hero's Cape, this will put the Hero's Cape in your hand as well. So you can essentially heal up and keep Hero's Cape ready to use next turn. So yeah, especially in the Hero's Cape build, Cheren is just... It's such a ridiculously good card in here. It's one you've absolutely got to bear in mind. We've also got Rigid Band, which means a stage 1 Pokemon you got attached to you takes 30 less damage from attacks. I mean, look, you're a stage 1 Pokemon. Obviously, Hero's Cape is way better, but you've only got one Hero's Cape. So, feels like this might be one that you should, you know, be at least having a little bit of a look at. And then, of course, I mentioned earlier Turbo Energize. If you're not playing Arceus or Palkia, you kind of need Turbo Energize. Yes, I know you can do it for a double Turbo and a Darkness, but I think you still need some acceleration here in terms of energy. And if you're not playing Arceus or Palkia, then Turbo Energize is the best you've got. Perfect? Nah, mate. Decent? Yeah. You know what? It kind of is. I like Blissey. Blissey is absolutely here to stay, and if you're preparing for NAIC or Worlds, this is a deck you absolutely need on your radar. It works so beautifully with Monkey Dory, which makes me super happy. We finally found the deck that Frostlass fits into. I say finally, it's been like 5 minutes since we saw that card. And who doesn't want a big 300, 400 HP tank? I do. So there we go. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me if you think Blissey's great. Tell me anything you want to tell me about the deck in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. And get shout-outs on the channel, like the lovely Dojo, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.